right, families, welcome to first grade curriculum night 2020. What an adventure so far, right? Very different than being in the building, but we are so thankful that you are here with us and have joined us tonight. Just know that all sessions will be recorded and posted to the Stony Point website and our Stony Point YouTube page if you can't stay for the whole meeting or if have other students and other grade levels. Again, thank you so much. Also check the chat box for a sign-in sheet so that we know that you are here with us. And also, if you have any questions as we're going, that's kind of going to be our parking lot where you can type questions. We have a couple of teachers monitoring that so that we can make sure we answer everything to the best of our ability when we are finished. We ask that let us finish our presentation and then we'll answer questions at the end, just so that we can make sure we get everything that we need to get out to you first. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful start to a very different year, but we are very excited to have all of your students and families as part of our first grade team at Stony Point. I am Mrs. Thomas. I am one of the first grade teachers, and I'm going to get us started. The first thing that we are going to talk about is math. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through each content area, and we're going to share just the highlights, the big picture of what we do in first grade. It's a lot of fun, and we are just super excited to be able to, do this virtually with you this year. So in math, the first thing that we focus on really is that strong foundation of math skills. Operations and algebraic thinking are very important for first graders, developing fluency for addition and subtraction through 20, understanding word problems, being able to understand the relationship between addition and subtraction, just that really strong foundation that sets them up for success as they move on. We do focus also on geometry, making sure that they know how to reason with shapes and their attributes, distinguish between defining and non-defining attributes, composing 2- and 3-dimensional shapes, and partitioning circles and rectangles. We also spend a very large amount of time on number and operations in base 10, counting to 150, starting at any number, understanding 2-digit numbers have a tens and a ones place. This is very important for them at this age, and using place value, understanding and what that means for addition and subtraction. And we also do focus on measurement and data, ordering objects by length, comparing length, telling and writing time to the hour and half hour, and of course, organizing, representing, and interpreting data up to 3 categories, and identifying coins, quarters, nickels, dimes, and relating their value to pennies. All right, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing teammate, Mrs. Euland. You are up. Your turn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mrs. Euland. I teach first grade too. Welcome this evening. We're very excited to have you here, and hopefully we answer some questions you all have of what to expect this year. So I'm going to cover English language arts. It's a very, very big and important topic in first grade. Slide, please, Miss Brown. So we're going to focus on literature, fiction text, and nonfiction. So reading literature, they have to be able to ask and answer questions about details in the text. Retelling stories is a big, big deal here in first grade. We ask that they describe character, setting, and events. They need to be able to tell who is telling the story. So we say identify, so they get their binoculars out and they have to look and they have to find the characters and the narrator in the story. Something later on that we do is they will compare and contrast characters and events. So tell similarities and differences between the two. They also have to be able to tell the difference between books that tell stories and books that give information. And they also need to identify words in a story or poem that suggest feelings or appeal to the senses. So that's a lot. That is a lot for literature. And now going into reading informational text, again, ask and answer questions about the details in a text. A big thing is that they're going back and they're finding information in first grade. This will also help them later on when they get into second, third grade and the beautiful EOGs. Using illustrations and details in a text to describe key ideas. They need to be able to identify main topic and key details. Know and use text features, and examples of that are headings, table of contents, glossaries, icons, bold print, why an informational text is an informational text, and identify similarities and differences between two texts written on the same topic. So they have to do a lot, but we're here to support them through that, so it'll be okay. Print concepts, reading foundational skills, excuse me. They need to be able to demonstrate understanding of the organization and basic features of print. Phonemic awareness, demonstrate understanding of spoken words, syllables, and sounds in those words. Phonics and word recognition, know and apply grade level phonics and word analysis skills in decoding words. So being able to break words down and then chunk those words back together. And then fluency, read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. And that's also reading with expression. So we don't want them reading like robots. They need to be able to read with expression while they're reading text. And it does seem like a lot. Reading is a very, very big component in first grade, but we are here to support them through that with you all. So I know it seems like a lot, but we'll be here to answer your questions tonight and throughout the year, because those are very large words for first grade. Okay, on to writing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Kress, and I am also a first grade teacher on our team of awesome teachers, and I will be presenting writing. So next slide, please. All right, so the components of writing that we teach in first grade are language, and then obviously the writing component, print uppercase and lowercase letters. We want students to correctly use periods, question marks, and exclamation points at the end of sentences. Once they figure out that exclamation point, they're using that one, I promise you. We want them to identify declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamatory sentences. We want them to correctly use capital letters at the beginning of sentences. One of the little tidbits I like to use for my students, if it doesn't have a period, it says blah, blah, blah. So they love to hear that. For writing, we want students to write informative and explanatory text, which name a topic, then we give some facts about the topic, and at the end, they provide some closure. We also want them to write narratives, which recount 2 or more sequenced events, and then provide some sense of closure to that narrative. We want them to write opinions, which include a statement of opinion, supply at least one reason why they feel that way, and provide some closure.
I think Mrs. Tyson Cox may have accidentally just left or got kicked out, so I'll pop back in and do science and social studies until she comes back. Miss Brown, if you want to push that to the next slide. So for science, we focus on force and motion, Earth in the universe, the Earth, the sun, the moon, all of the fun things. They love that unit. The Earth system, structures and processes. So we study rocks and minerals and soil, which is a ton of fun, mixed in with the ecosystem, because we're talking about plants and life cycles, and they really do love that. It's science is a ton of fun in first grade. And it looks like Miss Lisa is back, so I'm going to turn it over. There you go.
Thank you. I dropped the call, but on with our social studies. I am Miss Lisa. I'm one of the first grade teachers. In social studies, we look at the importance of rules that children need to abide by as an adult and as a child, how the environment impacts where people live, ways people change the environment, our natural resources, cardinal directions and map symbols, landforms, diversity of people, the goods and services, supply and demands. Those are some of the things that we look at in social studies as we use this part of our curriculum. The next slide. And on for our assessments, Miss Casey.
Hey guys, I'm Miss Johnson, and I get to talk about the fun part, which is the assessments and also Canvas. So the first assessment that I'm going to talk about is iStation, which is the reading assessment that we do in North Carolina. We just started this last year, but this is the formative reading assessment that we will use 3 times a year to get their benchmarks, and then also there'll be a progress monitored once a month at least, just so we can see how they are progressing towards their goals, to make sure that we're giving them the right instruction and that they're moving forward. So this assessment is completely computer based. We don't have any guidance yet as far as when it will be given for the beginning of the year, but just know that it is a computer program that they get on, and they'll log on there the same way that they get on Canvas through the home base. It gives us benchmark data. It's continuous progress monitoring, like I said, once a month, to make sure that they're moving in the right direction, and also to make sure that we're giving them the right instruction and support that they need. So there are several different skills that iStation covers or assesses them on, and that is phonemic awareness, so rhyming words, beginning, middle, and ending sounds. Also letter knowledge, and also if they know the sounds to the letters. It also assesses them on vocabulary, which is a big part of reading and comprehending what they've read. Alphabetic decoding, that is one of the big things that we push in first grade, because we want them to learn how to blend and blend fluently. So the alphabetic decoding assesses that. And then, of course, comprehension. We want to make sure that they understand what they're reading, and then spelling. And it also assesses them on connected text fluency, because like Miss Hewlin said, we don't want them reading like robots. We want them to be able to read fluently, because the more fluent they can read, the better they're going to comprehend. So that's the reading assessment. For Success Maker, I know you've seen that on some of the schedules so far, so we're still waiting to hear what the start date for that's going to be. And as soon as we know when we're going to move forward with Success Maker and iStation, we'll let you know. Just know that Stony Point is ready to go when they tell us. We're just waiting on the county to give us the go-ahead for that. So we're waiting on them to tell us when that can start. But Success Maker is a tool that we use to assess the students in math. If you have a child in the upper grades, then they may be on Success Maker for reading also, but we only do the math part in first grade. And that also gives us feedback, so we can know what your child needs to learn and how we can move them forward to progress towards their goals. And it says on the slide to be completed independently. So I know, and all of us know, that you want to help your child and you want them to get the right answer, but just know that it helps us a lot if they complete the work independently, because that's how we know what instruction to give them. So it's tempting, I know, to help them and want to give them the right answer, and we appreciate your support, but we also want to make sure that we're giving them the instruction they need to be ready to be successful in first grade and then eventually move on to second. And then this is our favorite thing. It's Canvas. And this is the district platform for remote learning. So this is what our county has chosen will be the learning management system for our district. And you guys are probably pros by now on Canvas, because that's where all of our instruction is. That's where all the assignments are. So that's how the students will submit their work. And as I just said before, just make sure that they're doing the task independently, just so we know, what they're learning and what we need to give them extra support on. And a key thing to remember, because I know you have a lot going on at home, also, the kids have 5 days to complete each assignment. So if they can't get it done on one day, don't panic. Everybody is giving them 5 days to complete the assignments. So if you have any questions about that, then just let your child's teacher know.
And don't forget, parents, if you have questions, put them in the chat box, and we have a couple of teachers monitoring that so we can make sure we answer those questions at the end. Sorry, Ms. Johnson.
Oh, you're fine. One of the other assessments that you probably already noticed your child's teacher has already given is the Dolch words or the sight word assessment. So there are 5 lists altogether. 2 of the lists, the pre-primer and primer, are the lists that are usually mastered in kindergarten. We know that the end of last year was different than normal. So if they haven't mastered those, it's best if you can make some flashcards. Your child's teacher can share the list with you if you want to make flashcards, or they might have some they can give you. But it's really important for them to learn the sight words in order to be able to read more fluently. So those are the kindergarten list, and then level 1, 2, and 3 are the first grade list. So by the end of first grade, it's important that they know all 5 of those lists. And then the last way that we assess math, which your child's teacher has already been doing this also, are by doing the math tasks. And that's just after we teach a skill or a standard, we give them a math task and see if they learned it or not. The good thing about it is that if they don't master it, we can go back and reteach. And then if they master it later, then we can change their score. So they either get a 1, 2, or 3 on those. We're aiming for the 3, but like I said, if they don't get it, we'll reteach in a small group, and then we'll assess them again to try to get them the 3 by the end of the year. And at the end of the year, then all of their scores are averaged, and that's how we get their final score. And that's our presentation. I know it's a lot. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat box, or you can unmute and we'll be glad to answer them for you.
And can I just add something in super quickly? Ms. Johnson mentioned that the students have 5 days because we know every single family is in a completely different situation than other families. But we do encourage, if you can, for them not to take the full 5 days for each of those assignments, because first grade is so foundational that the skills build upon one another. And if you are continually waiting the 5 days, then they may be out of sync with what they're learning live versus what they're practicing. And by no means are we saying, that you don't have that 5 days. Absolutely you do. And we encourage you to do what's best for your family, but just keep that in mind as the students are working, because it could become disconnected at some point if they're not working on something daily.
Hi guys, it's Miss Jacobs. We did have one question about differentiation and about how the online education is a little bit different and our methods might be different for the grouping, and about the times that are allowed for that. So my answer to that for Mr. Yanikov is that each teacher will be using our small group time. So if your student was on a different level, maybe needing a little extra support or maybe needing a little more of a challenge, that we would be using that small group time that each teacher has. So each time slots will be different for each group. But I would say that we are differentiating in our small group learning. I don't know if any other teachers want to add that. Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
I also wanted to say with Success Maker, it's computer adaptive, so that once they finish their initial placement test in that, when we eventually get to that and we can actually access it for the students, that will differentiate their instruction as well.
And that was the only question I had in the chat box. If the floor is open, if any other parent or teacher had anything to add?
I'll just add to that for Mr. Yanikov's question too. At the beginning, especially with this smooth start and the very different start to what the school year looks like, you will see more differentiation and you will see more of that individual student need being met as we go on, because now we have met with the students, we know their skill levels, we're gathering that information and data, and then it's easier for us to plan our lessons in small groups based on where those students are. So we do most of our teaching to that benchmark standard of first grade, but then the small groups and that sort of stuff, now that we know them a little better and we're collecting more data, will be more personalized. I hope that helps.
Also, Ms. Thomas, to add to that, we are all using RAS Kids or ReadWorks, and both of those computer programs do a really good job at helping us to individualize their instruction, to help us put the children into groups so that we can really meet their individual needs. But both of those programs are really good for the individualization that we're trying to accomplish with each of these children.
Very true. Were there any other questions from parents or any concerns, anything you would like us to address while you have us all here together? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking your time, but more than that, we really appreciate your help. We're a team this year like we have never been a team before. It takes all hands on deck, and y'all have shown up in a big way for your child, for your child's teacher, for our building, and we are so thankful, so thankful for all of you. And to be on this journey together. If you have any questions, concerns, never hesitate to reach out. We all have an open door. We want what's best for your child, and we are all committed to success through this new distance learning. So thank you again for joining, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you. Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming.